his claws pushing against my cheeks, only causing more whines to escape from me, though this only made the three of them laugh more. Suddenly, the door began to unlock, so the monochrome clown let go, throwing my head back with a hard push, making me gasp. The three turned to the door, and I curiously looked between their shoulders to see what was about to happen. I watched as the door opens, but what stepped in shocked me. A masked figure holding an unconscious Toby hunched over his shoulder. "Toby!" I whispered to myself as more tears began to fall at a faster rate, increasing my breathing to a pant. We watched as he dropped some harshly attaching chains around his wrists and ankles, standing him up and letting him lean on the wall. "So, I see she's awake," the masked figure spoke as he turned around to face us, brushing his hands together to dust them off. "She has, and she won't keep quiet." The ooze-covered masked man, followed by an annoyed tisk at his head, turns to face me, as if to frown at me. The white masked with red smile man sighs, shaking his head as he walks over to me, standing next to the others. He too was really tall, easily taller than me. Having four dangerous men surrounding me, clearly taller and stronger, while I stood small, held in place by thick chains, I was scared. Really scared. "Well, we can't have her making a fuss now, can we?" The smile masked man shakes his head, folding his arms in disapproval. "We're not meant to touch her until Toby wakes up." He pauses, turning to face the gray golden-eyed man, chuckling evilly. "But discipline can still happen without needing to physically touch her. Isn't that right, puppeteer?" The glowing eyes shift and lock on my person, followed by a large razor-toothy smirk, his low, deep laugh filling my eardrums. I couldn't help but shrink back, shaking as my cries of fear grows. I cry, tugging on my chains desperately, trying to get an answer. But the smiled masked man huffs in amusement, his arms still folded. "Allow me to introduce ourselves," he chuckles, only answering one of my two questions. "The man on the end is Jack. Eyeless Jack. But we like to call him EJ," he says, pointing to the ooze-masked man. The fact that he pauses while saying eyeless threw shivers on my spine. "The man next to him is the puppeteer," he said, gesturing to the gray golden-eyed man, causing a smirk to form on his face. I couldn't help but look away. I felt awkward and weak as he grinned at me in such a way. "The monochrome clown here is also Jack. Laughing Jack. Again, we call him LJ. Helps distinguish between the two Jacks." All four men laughed together, deeply. I felt so small and helpless, surrounded by these people. I just wanted to go home. What did I do to deserve to be here? "And I am Painter. Bloody Painter. Or as we like to call him, Helen," smirked LJ, causing Painter to punch him harshly in the arm with an agitated growl. LJ flinches, but shows no sign of true pain, although I could see he hit him hard, just due to the aftershock movement LJ's arms made in response to the punch. You still didn't answer my other question. Why am I here?" I pushed my question on. I know Painter ignored it on purpose, but I demand an answer. "Enough," Painter growls with a low, deep, angry voice. I wanted to know, but the tone of his voice made me shrink back. I know I did some bad things. I didn't mean to kill those nurses and those cops. I was just trying to protect Toby." There was a pause as the four turned to look at each other before bursting out laughing, almost hysterical, making me feel embarrassed. "You are really pathetic," Puppeteer bellows as he continues to laugh with the others. "You think you're here for a punishment of your crimes. Girl, you are done. We've killed more people than your age." LJ laughs and makes fun of me. I didn't quite understand what he meant by the last part. I think he meant that because I'm 20. I've lived on Earth for 20 years, meaning they've killed more people than that number. If that's so, how many more? What am I going to do? Why won't they stop laughing? Once their laughter dies down, EJ is the next one to talk after being quiet for a while. "You're not being punished for your crimes. You're here to teach a lesson to him," he states, gesturing over to Toby, who still leaned against the wall unconscious. I don't understand. AJ sighs, grabbing the back of my head harshly by my hair, yanking my head forward, gripping my chin with his other hand, forcing me to look in the direction of Toby. Listen carefully. He's here because he's caused some trouble with Slender, he says, pulling my head once more, causing an aching sensation to flow through my neck. It's soon relieved, but replaced by a new pain as he yanks my head back, arching my neck. We're here to punish him. But what best way to punish someone than for him to see his lover be harmed? He chuckles, but his words just made my eyes shoot open as they begin to fill with fluid. When Painter mentioned that Puppeteer couldn't punish me without touching me, I didn't understand, and I still don't. But hearing these things are making my heart race and my panic grow, wondering what they're going to do. The silence didn't last long. I'm guessing it's because the four men grew bored. I enjoyed the silence as my fear faded a little, allowing me to try and calm down. But as soon as one of them speaks, my panic level rockets up. Well, I'm bored. Seems Toby's still out like a light. Shall we have some fun while we wait? Painter chuckles as he turns his head in my direction, easily looking down on me. I desperately tried to read their minds, seeing if any of them were secretly having second thoughts, but nothing. Every single one of them thought nothing. So much so, I thought I could hear static. I watched fear as the men nod together before taking a few steps back. All but Puppeteer. He remains close, a white toothy grin staring at me, his glowing eyes locked on my figure. Do with her as you like, Puppeteer. We'll be outside. Painter laughs, followed by deep chuckles from EJ and LJ, watching as the three walk out of the room, locking the door, leaving me alone with an unconscious Toby and an insane-looking man with the name of Puppeteer. As my breathing increases to a pant of anxiousness as his evil stare continues, I suddenly jump as he speaks to me through a sadistic tone. So, I bet you're wondering why I was given my name, He smirks as his long, slender fingers slide smoothly under my chin as he begins to circle around me slowly, making it hard for me to keep an eye on him, until he no longer appears in front of me, but I couldn't check behind to see what he was doing. I could feel my body growing hot with anxiety, when suddenly his arms wrap around my shoulders, yanking me back as his hands clamped under my chin, forcing my head up to stare at the ceiling, making it hard to breathe in the position held in. I watch as one of his hands extends in front of my teary gaze, crumpling his fingers together. I gasp in surprise as long slender threads of glowing golden strings leave his fingertips, flailing around in the air calmly. But as I appreciate their beauty, I gasp for breath, harshly as the strings latch around my throat. Puppeteer removes his other hand and arms, twirling around to my feet to meet my front, causing the strings to twist and tighten around my neck. I desperately rattle my chains as my hands try to reach my throat on instinct, but to no success. The strings tighten and tighten until the world around me starts to blur and fade to black. But soon, the air comes rushing to my lungs as the thread releases me, inhaling loud and hard as I practically hyperventilate, desperately to get as much oxygen in my system as possible. Oh dear, you run out of air too quickly. Can't have you dying yet. He giggles as tons upon tons of strings flail around him, several climbing from an individual finger, too many to count. Oh, I know another way we can play. He gasps in excitement. I go to speak to plead him to stop, but I'm interrupted by a stinging sensation in my cheek. I whine as I watch a string move away from my face, a trail of blood sliding it down. One of his strings had whipped my skin, causing a deep gash, allowing blood to dribble down. Oh, that felt good. This is fun, right? He laughs as three more strings lash on my skin, one striking my neck, another on my arm, and a third on my knee. Despite wearing clothes, the thread easily pushed through and cut my flesh just as deep as it did to bare skin. I couldn't help but whine as the thread slashed me over and over and over, one at a time or multiple at once. Tears flooded down my face, burning the open sores left behind. I just wanted it to end, but my cries for help drowned out under his hysterical laughter. It didn't take long for my body to be covered in bleeding gashes given through the hours of torture endured. It would have continued for longer, but I started to grow weak, and luckily Painter EJ and LJ entered the room, causing Puppeteer to stop immediately. They walked over to me with amused expressions, so I couldn't tell for EJ's. Nice job, Puppeteer. Looks like you skinned a cat. EJ chuckled as he patted him on the shoulder, only causing Puppeteer's proud grin to increase in size. I had so many wounds. My body was drenched in blood. Any unharmed skin was hard to see. Only deep slices could be seen. Though I grew weaker and my body began to fade to darkness, the last thing I feel and vaguely see is the long droplet of blood drip and slide down my nose from my hairline. Taking Toby's point of view. My head felt drowsy and heavy, a pounding headache banging away at my skull. I couldn't help but groan as I slowly opened my eyes. I go to lift my hand to rub the back of my head, but something keeps my hand in place, preventing any movement. Shifting my gaze down, I notice that both my hands and my ankles have been chained down. Just as my confusion grows, I suddenly hear the loud rattle of more chains being moved. Shooting my glare in direction of the source, I spot a blurry figure raising and attaching chains to a ceiling restraint. As the figure pulled, locked arms began to raise limply, as if to hold someone up to prevent them flopping down. I couldn't see the figure doing this or the person chained up. All I knew was that I was in trouble, as though I had a feeling that the person didn't know I was awake. So I remained quiet, watching as their shadow leaves the room. As soon as it does, I call out to the restrained person, "Hey, what's going on?" I call out as quiet as I can, not to be heard, but enough for the person to hear me. Though there was no response, I try to focus my blurred vision on them tightly. "Hello? Are you?" Before I finish, I interrupt myself. The blow to my head affected my vision, but it didn't last long until I was finally able to see the person chained up. I saw every wound and every droplet of blood. The very sight of it broke my heart. "Mel?" I cry out as I desperately tug on my chains. Her seemingly unconscious body hung there from her shoulders, with her arms above her head as blood dribbled from her many wounds. "Mel! Wake up! Fuck! Fuck!" I yelled as I realized she was out cold. I hated whoever did this to her, and I was determined to kill the bastard who harmed her. I tried my best to listen out for any signs of life inside of her, but her breathing was so quiet and weak. She barely took full breaths. Her body was so limp, so sore and damaged. Her blood-soaked hair hung down in front of her face from her dropping head. Seeing her like this angered me, frustrated me, enraged me. "You bastards!" I bellow at the top of my lungs as my head arches back to allow maximum volume. Whoever did this is going to pay. Just then, the door begins to make sounds as if to be unlocked before it pushes open, and three familiar identities enter the room. Painter, EJ, and LJ. I growl furiously, grinding my teeth as the three approach me. "Good morning, sunshine. Pleasant sleep?" Painter chuckles as he folds his arms, his revolting mask locked on me. "So, I guess you've seen the fun Puppeteer had with your lady friend there." LJ winks, and he points in the direction of Mel. I was shocked. Puppeteer has been sent on a year-long mission, but he had only been gone 6 months. Why was he back so soon? Puppeteer? But it's only been... What? Only been 6 months? Yeah, we know. He completed his mission early, which is more than we can say for you. LJ growls at my response. None of us like to be questioned. I know this especially from previous killings I've made, but at this point in time, they're the predators and I'm the prey. I was now the one with my life on the line. So like any other victim, my head was filled with questions. Why am I here? Why is Mel here? There was silence as none of them seemed to be bothered to answer my question. Well, apart from EJ. He tisks with an irritated tone as he stands tall over me. "You've pissed off Slender too many times. You need to learn your lesson. Although, Painter's injection to make you feel pain from when he last tortured you was probably worn off and he doesn't have any more. So instead, we decided that the best way to torture you than to harm the thing you love most." He grumbles, gesturing with a nod of his head in the direction of Mel's unconscious body. I felt betrayed. EJ and I used to be close. He would put up with me at least. "What happened, Jack?" I can't believe you assholes are doing this. Through my anger and emotional pain just seemed to amuse him. Especially Painter, as a faint chuckle seeps behind his mask. Watch it, Rogers. In case you haven't realized yet, the more you do wrong, the more we hurt your whore. She is not a whore, you fuck! I shout out in rage at his person as I push myself forward as much as possible, saliva spitting all over his mask. Though this does not faze him in the slightest. As I breathe heavily due to the energy lost in my yelling, I watch as Painter turns to the other two. EJ, LJ, I think it's time we punish Toby for his behavior, don't you? EJ, get the needle and wake her up. LJ, prepare yourself and get ready. It's your turn for some fun. Painter and LJ laugh together deeply as they walk away from me, leaving the room. But EJ, he remains to inject Mel, the liquid, to wake from her unconscious state. EJ, why are you doing this? I thought we were friends. One thing you should remember about us killers, Toby. He pauses from his work on Mel and turns to face me with a stern stance. You never make friends. But you did. You made more than a friend. She was your lover. You even had a child with her, EJ. What I said seemed to have hit him as his body flinched a little. A loud deep growl bellows as he stormed over to me, standing close and appearing patronizing from his height. That was different. She was one of us, a killer. She had a unique power. I'm a killer. What's the difference between being friends with her and me? My personal life has nothing to do with you, Toby Rogers. Jack, you, her, and your child left here with Cageco. Years later, you, her, and Cageco returned. Without your child, what happened? Who do you think you are, Rogers, asking me such a question? Why do you care so much? Jack was highly defensive on the topic, but I needed answers. I needed to know why he was becoming so distant with me, his lover, and with pretty much everyone. You killed it, didn't you? I say lonely and calmly, though Jack doesn't answer right away. There would have been silence. Only Jack's slow growl prevented a silence from occurring. What do you want from me, Toby? Huh? The truth? The truth about what happened? Why the child never returned with us? Is that it? You expect me to spill all my secrets out to you just like that? Not only did Jack sound highly defensive, here more so than now ever, but he also sounded upset. Something must have really happened. I could tell in his voice that this was a touchy subject. I'm gonna end up dead soon anyway. I at least want to know the truth. Jack's mask stares at me blankly as the true pure silence radiates over us until he finally sighs, dropping his head little in a small nod. I went out on a mission. My lover, she gave me a knife to try instead of a scalpel. I used it just to please her. The child wanted to come, but I said no. She wasn't old enough, but she ignored my order. When I was out in the forest as part of my mission, I began to grow tense as there were loads of people around. I became more alert. Then, suddenly, I hear rushing footsteps behind me. On instinct, I spin around and slash my knife at the source, only to see the pain on my child's face. I had sliced right across her throat, tears in her eyes as she cries, gasps, trying to ask, why? But couldn't get out the words as blood gushes from her neck. I could see the betrayal and horror on her face as she falls to the floor. I had never felt such agony in my heart. Despair I never thought I'd feel. I abandoned my mission and headed home. My lover was angry, but we needed to escape, so we came back. I chose to distance myself from everyone to ensure I never harm anyone close to me again. There. Are you happy now? I was quiet for a moment. Jack's story really hit me hard. He accidentally murdered his own flesh and blood, his own family, his own daughter. So then, you understand the despair I feel when I see Mel get hurt? Jack turns to look behind him, glancing at Mel's limp body as she begins to stir, come around little by little. Only the slightest of movements, but still unconscious due to the slow working fluid used. Jack, she's not who you think she is. She's special, too. Jack huffs, shaking his head in disapproval as he leans onto one leg, bending at the knee.
Of course you would say that, Toby. You love her.
No, not that. I mean, like your lover. Mel has a special ability, too. Jack seems taken aback by this information as he suddenly straightens his posture, standing tall and stern as he looks down at me.
What do you mean?
Jack, please, you have to help me. As an old friend, please. I can't let Mel die. Jack paused for a moment. I could feel his cold, eyeless stare burning holes into my skull as he tries to process whether I'm telling the truth about her being special.
Fine, I'll help you. But I will still have to play along for some bits until I can get you out.
Okay, but how do I know you'll definitely help? He's telling the truth, Toby. A soft, weak, tired voice spoke out between breaths. We both look in the direction of the source to see Mel's eyes in our direction, her head facing us as she weakly smiles, trying her best to use the energy left to speak. Mel? I heard it in his mind. He promises to help. She was so tired. She found it hard to talk. I hated seeing her like this. I just wanted her safe. Jack instantly turns in my direction. If he didn't have his mask on, I would bet that he had a shocked expression on his face.
What does she mean? She heard it?
That's her ability, Jack. She's a mind reader. Jack does not respond to me. Instead, he turns away and walks over to Mel, stopping in front of her. She weakly raises her head to meet his mask's gaze.
You can read my mind?
She nods slowly, her blood-soaked hair falling in front of her eyes slightly.